Rich is playing into the theme of give me liberty or give me death, and that his contention is that this is a case-by-case understanding of a much broader slogan. And he's going to dig into the background, what was happening at the time Patrick Henry made this speech that has long lived Patrick's life, and hope to explain to us and give us more insight as to what that is. Rich today is going to do the world of Patrick Henry when he said, give me liberty or give me death. Rich?
Thank you. So on March 23rd, 1775, Patrick Henry is with his fellow members of the Virginia House of Burgesses. And they're debating whether or not to raise an army. This is at the precipice of the Revolutionary War. And you can imagine his fellow members of the group wrestling in their seats as he walks to the podium. They know this man. He's a public figure already. But they also know he is dealing with a tremendous loss and a heartache. Yet he's there doing his duties. And while I don't have time to repeat the whole speech, given the theme of the day, I think it deserves a little more context. So let me repeat a few more words. If life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery, forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but for me, give me liberty or give me death. I'm really happy to be with you today. As I was preparing for this speech, I learned a lot. And it really forced me to develop a framework for putting this in some context. And so I want to talk you through this man and this world that he was in a pretty formal way. I'm going to talk about the place. I'm going to talk about the time frame, the events of the day. What was his place in this society? Were there really risks he was taking in making this statement? And where was his heart? Because he was clearly speaking from the heart. So he was born in Virginia. He died in Virginia. Virginia was his place. And Virginia, before the Declaration of Independence, was one of our strongest colonies. He was a landowner, a farmer. He was a slave owner. He was an attorney. He had a relatively large library and actually studied how to be a good presenter, arguably the first Toastmaster. He came to the surface as a public person 10 years, actually 12 years before he made this speech. He was an attorney, and he was defending the county. One of the parochial vicars, one of the local ministers, was looking for a raise, and he defended the county. The vicar won a perfunctory win of 1 cent. Evidently, his neighbors were happy with that result because he was elected 2 years later to the House of Burgesses, filling a seat from his county. In this time frame, we had the French and Indian War starting to happen, so taxes were starting to be levied on the citizens. And he opposed the Stamp Act, one of the first taxes. And he actually arrived at this assembly 9 days late, because he was kind of a last-minute addition. And he, within 9 days, had put forth a very aggressive defense to the law. Some called it treasonous, but it passed. And so he was this powerful orator who had an impact immediately. He made that same famous speech in the House of Burgesses. Was there risk for these people making these statements? Absolutely there was. We know that some warrants for arrest were issued as soon as the Battle of Lexington and Concord started. And that was 30 days after this speech. So he truly made this call to arms among his fellow Virginians 30 days before the first battle of the Revolution. What you don't know, and I raise this personal tragedy, this heartache he was dealing with, what you probably don't know is that 4 days before he made that speech, "Give me death," his wife had died. His wife of 21 years, the mother of his 6 children, a woman who had been ill for 4 years, a woman that he had cared for in his home as opposed to putting her into some kind of nursing facility, which was even common at that time, had died. Yet this man stepped up and did his job, and did it in a way that is probably one of the most memorable, important statements of the entire revolution. And he probably really meant it. He probably was really willing to die. He was no Johnny-come-lately to these issues. He had been at the forefront from 10 years before, attacking the Stamp Act. Yet in that moment of personal tragedy, he was able to step up and provide a leadership role. Now, to put it in full context, he went on, married a few years later, had 11 more children. You may not know he was the first governor and the 6th governor of Virginia, so he survived the war. But what an amazing context. And so as I was developing this, I realized that we have slogans in our world today, and that these slogans can be really powerful, and they can be used for good or used for evil. They have consequences. And so as I kind of end this speech and I think about this, I wonder if this speech is about these words or if it's about the importance of putting things in context. I wonder if we would have put a response to the slogan, "You can keep your insurance plans and your doctors," in place more quickly and more effectively, if we would have had a different result. We need a better rebuttal than "it's not truth." Context may be part of that form of rebuttal. And patriotism requires rebuttal and requires truth.